So my name is Mariam Cisse, and I have a bachelor's degree in international development and political sciences and an MBA in international business. So for the past decade, I have focused on the mining industry and development in Africa, especially transforming raw material into sustainable clean energy. So currently, I am by day, like I said, I am an entrepreneur in the mining industry. I operate in the logistic and transport, where we take the worker to and from the mining industry, who are the catalyst for the mining industry in Guinea Conakry, because I need to specify. So that's the work that we are being doing. And I also work with organizations, and I do consulting for institutions regarding how today Africa can leverage its natural resources and for economic growth, as well as
Oh,
the transition to clean energy. When I finished my study in Canada, where I studied international development, before going to Canada, my goal was to work for NGOs. And for me, development was the mainstream idea that, okay, we need money. We need to help young people in order to develop Africa. As I grew and that as I studied development patterns from not from the industrial area, because that era has been gone, but like for the past decade, the development patterns that I have seen has been that only the people are the mainstream, are the only thing that can move forward the development goal. And then when I came back to Guinea, I was like, where do I work? Mining was where I got introduced, where I got my first job. And I recognized early on that I don't see any woman. I don't see any women. I don't see young people. And mining is a big industry in Guinea with the project Simandu, because Guinea has the largest reserve of bauxite in the world. We have more than 50 companies. We have Rio Tinto, winning consortium. So there are a lot of work being done in that area, but I couldn't see young people, I couldn't see women. And for me to break into that, I had to do groundwork. I have to go directly into these mining companies and say to them, okay, this is a small company, but you have to believe that we can provide. We can provide the logistic of it, because we have the knowledge, we have the people, and be able to hire young people. It was tough because the industry is male dominated. The industry is dominated by engineers, by other social group. But by having the development understanding, the community being able to work and talk to the community, we were able to put a vibrant and young company today that I'm really proud of. I think the significance for me, it's seeing the transition, seeing Africans, seeing people today. I'm from Guinea Conakry. Guinea Conakry is a French side. And people, the work that everyone does in terms of development, in terms of sustainable development, are a little bit overlooked. Guinea, for instance, has the largest reserve in bauxite in the world. Can you imagine having that natural resources and not be able to transform that for the everyday people? I think that's what drives everything that I do. And my
oh,
goal is to be able to be a catalyst for that transformation and see that we can leverage those resources in order for us to develop Guinea and also the continent around us. The main old saying that Africa is not developed. I think development comes with a lot of layers. development is not only about economic development. And I think for the longest in Africa, we only focused on economic development. Well, Africa has a lot of knowledge. Today, young people, we have the youngest population, we have one of the biggest markets in the world. And I think the misconception is that solely economic development can develop Africa. And today, I dare to agree, if we see the last few decades, how China, Singapore, these countries with less natural resources have been able to develop their countries only by focusing on the population. They were able to move from underdeveloped to developed countries. So the misconception about Africa is that development is solely economic development is the catalyst for human and social development. I think that's not the case. I think Africa is already developed with the young people, vibrant young people, and the knowledge today that we have, with the market that we have. I think the only missing thing is the institutions to put that together and help these young people help develop and operate in all the aspects of development. For us to integrate African countries and young people, we need technology. We also need reliable infrastructure. I think all the other resources, we already have it. And I think by focusing on infrastructure to integrate the African countries, technology to help foster that, I think that's one thing I will focus on. Access. I think we have all these resources, but how many of us have access to it? There is knowledge on the continent, but how many people are in the space where they can transform that knowledge into actions, everyday actions? I think now, since we have a large population of young people, it is a good time to bring those together, the knowledge, the market, the young people, to execute those knowledge that we have around development, that to be able to transform the natural resources that we have, to be able to use the technology to better people's life. I think we need access. The only thing that Africa has been missing and I rarely see that in conversation around Africa. Yes, we have resources. Yes, we have young people. But how many of those people have access to these resources? So I think if we can reconcile these young people who have a lot of ambition. I know in my work every day, I see young people who have vibrant ideas that can transform Africa. But how many of them has the financial means, the infrastructure? Not only the financial means. Today we need the infrastructure to be able to transform those things. I think access has to be, for me, the major thing that we need to focus on, especially for young people. I think there is a lot of misconception about the mining industry. I think, first of all, the problem with Africa is not about the mining industry, because not all of African countries have natural resources. The problem rather is the extracting and the export of raw material. I think one of the problems with Africa is that there is no added value. So we extract our minerals, our bauxite, and we export them. That's one problem. The second problem is that we are not paid enough in order to mitigate the consequences of that extracting industry. So what has to be done today to mitigate all of that? First of all, like I said, the International Energy Agency understood that today, to move from carbon and fossil fuel, we need today to focus on clean energy. And what do we need for clean energy? We need minerals. We need energy to do solar energy, electric cars, All of these things require resources from mineral, from mining industries, from extracting industries. I think today what we need to do is focus on clean industrialization in Africa. Not from industrialization like it was in America or it was in England. No, but clean industrialization has a new requires new knowledge, new practice, new equipment, new knowledge, new resources. I think if Africa has the capacity today to focus on that transition, especially for the world, and focus solely on clean industrialization, we can mitigate climate change, we can create growth in economy, we can also have a large market and step have a benchmark for the world to do industries, like create work and even reinvent development. That's a critique that has been going on forever. I think we should not be focusing on that. I think what Africa rather is missing is a cohesive national identity. I think if I think corruptions, ethnocentrism are just symptoms of a larger, bigger problems. When we have strong institutions, when we can reward ethics, work ethics, and stuff, we will be able to move from these practices. We know for the past 50 years that most of the African countries have been out of colonization. We know that these practices have hindered our development. But today I see another side. I see an Africa that is more toward young people. And I think these young people are more focused on the work, on innovation, on technology. I think the old generation of Africa has been corrupt. The new generation of African has rather a vibrant and exciting um, idea about the world, about in development, about industries. And I think by focusing on that niche, by focusing on that young generation, we can be able to move from the old generation of corruption, of ethnocentrism, and those things. Rather, I want them to, I want Africa because now there are a lot of differences between African countries. I think if we can integrate, like I said before, technology and infrastructure, I think Africa will be better off by integrating the technologies, the knowledge, the natural resources that we have, because Africa is the largest country today that I can see has everything in order to develop. Everything, young people, the knowledge, the market. We have everything. And I think if we can today have access, these people to have access to the infrastructure needed, the knowledge, the financing, these people will be able to develop their countries. I think those are the things that I hope African countries can understand, that we can work together, that we can do everything together in order to develop quickly and efficiently our continent.